Hello, welcome to episode 221 of the Datapack tutorial series, version 1.2.1.8. We're going to be getting the item name using translation. So in the last episode, we were making item names look a bit nicer. And I thought, well, we don't want to hard code every item, so maybe we could sort of like step through the name and convert it. Let me just show you what I mean. So if I click on sandstone, it says item sandstone, polish button, polish blackstone button. If I click on the iron ingot, though, I've called that the finger of an iron golem. Now, that gives two answers, only because I've got two different ways of doing it. So we've got a hover event as well, so we can hover over, just for fun. And we can hover over the finger of an iron golem, and we can either have it say, oh, that's actually an iron ingot, or we can have it say, the same as the name, the finger of an iron golem. We can also do renamed items, so this anvil is called the Anvil of Doom. It will say Anvil of Doom. And we have formatted items as well. Item, my item. So, my idea was, you step through looking at each letter, and you make the first letters in a word capitalized, and you remove the underlines. And I said to GalSergey, hey, this is what I'm thinking of doing. In fact, Tracheus did that, and did it really nicely. And GalSergey said, well, you could just use translate. And I felt so sort of silly. I mean, there's a whole list of nice-looking item names and block names already written for us. So that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to be using translation to do it. So let's pop over to the Datapack. In fact, if I do a reload, that should break this. Yeah, there we go. It's all broken now. Cool. And this is running execute as the nearest player. So it's running as me. That way I can get my selected item. And we're running the function IDYT221 convert holding. So let's pop over to the Datapack. Now, there's a few things I've left in because they're so similar to the last time. I didn't bother changing them. We've got the cleanup function. That's literally just going to remove the data for me when I finish playing with the Datapack. Nice and easy. Got a give function to give myself that emerald that had formatted name. You can see it's got bold and red. And the load function, I've just left as it was from last time. We've got, oh, in fact, I think I gave oak sign a different name. Okay. Now, the idea being, what we're going to do is, let's go to holding. So this is what the command block is running. We're going to check for an item in the hand. In fact, we'll just start typing that in anyway. Why not? So we'll execute unless items entity at s weapon.main hand. They are holding any old item. Doesn't matter. We will run return fail. So if they've got an empty hand, we're not going to go any further. We won't bother doing anything. We'll remove some data. So let's clear up our data. Remove storage, ID temp, item. In fact, what I'm going to do first is I am just going to run that cleanup function, and then I'm just going to do a data get on the storage. ID data empty, cool, and ID temp empty, perfect. Now if I do a reload, data should now be filled. Okay, so we've got the data we put in, and temp should still be empty. That way we're starting with fresh data. Lovely. Okay. So that's what the cleanup function does. It just cleans up all my data. Right. So we've removed the data. Doesn't exist. Now let's get the item data. So we will data modify storage ID temp item dot hover event set from entity at s selected item. Let's save that. Let's go back. Let's do a reload. Let's click on this with let's do sandstone. Okay, now let's check our temporary data. Well, we can see we've got some stuff in there. We've got... I must have made a spelling mistake because that says IT. We don't want IT, do we? That must have been me. Remove ID temp IT. Oh. Well, how do I get rid of that then? What is that little IT just sitting there? Is it? Huh? Let me go back in here. Oh, look. item.hover event. Let's save that. Oh, how do I get rid of that then? Oh, so I just didn't see, did I? Remove it. There we go. Didn't even notice the comma. So we had a little spelling mistake, but we should be tidied up now. Let's do our data get empty. Let's make sure we do a reload. Let's click on it with sandstone. Let's data get again. Right, we've got item, and in the item we have a hover event, and the hover event's got a count, and it's got the ID of the item we're holding. Cool. Okay, let's go back. Now we're going to add an action to that hover event. Data, modify, storage, ID temp, item dot hover event dot action, and the action we want to add would be to set value. So the action we want to add would be show item. Now we're going to store the item's ID. Now we don't have to data get the player again because we saw the ID was already in the hover event. So let's do, Now the item could have an item name or it could have a custom name. So what we'll do first is set it from item name. Yeah, okay, we'll set it from item name. So we'll do a data modify storage ID temp item.name set from storage ID temp item.hover event dot components dot Minecraft colon item name. Make sure we spell Minecraft correctly. So if it has an item name, it will get it from there. Cool, no problem. But it might have a custom name. So if it does have a custom name, we will override that name that we just saved. I seem to have a curly bracket. What's that doing there? That should be an underline. Naughty, naughty, naughty. There we go. So instead of setting this one from item name, we will set this one from custom name. So we save its item name, let's say anvil, and then it comes down here and goes, oh, well, by the way, it does have a custom name. We'll overwrite with the custom name, Anvil of Doom. Okay, now let's strip off that Minecraft. So let's do data modify storage ID temp item.id, and we'll set string from storage ID temp, and it was in item dot hover event dot ID start at character number 10. So that's going to strip off the Minecraft colon, and then we'll call our or one of our macros. We'll do function holding macro with storage ID temp item. Right, let's save that. Let's see what data we're getting now. So let's do a reload. Bang on that. Let's do a data get. So we've got an item ID, which just says Sandstone. And we've got a hover event, which contains an action, show item, and an ID. Okay, that seems good. What if we do Anvil of Doom? Whack. Let's do the data get. Okay, we've got item ID. And here we can see we've got the Minecraft custom name, Anvil of Doom. That's cool. Minecraft custom name. Yeah. Okay, that seems good. Where are we saving? ID temp item name. Not seeing item.name. ID temp item.name. I don't see that in there. Am I just being blind? Reload. I don't see item, but we've got the custom name. Have I gone mad? Data modify storage. Let's copy that. No spelling mistake, is there? Don't see one. What happens if I... No item hover event. Oh, look at that. Strange. As soon as you type it in there, I see the spelling mistake. I've put components. Didn't even notice. Let's put that. I bet you saw me doing that. You were laughing, thinking you'll find that later. There we go. Components. Components is what they should be. Reload. Let's give it a whack again. And now let's try. Now I can see item name, Anvil of Doom. If we do this one, Sandstone, do it again, get a bit of data. Item. Well, we don't have an item name. Is that okay? Let's take you. Oh, God. The problem is, I am too sleepy. Item hover event components. Huh? Oh. Didn't find it. So, didn't copy it. Okay. Let's keep going. Let's go on to holding macro. Check if we have an entry. So, first thing we're going to do is we're going to use its ID and we're going to go into the load function and say, do we have an entry? And if we do, we're going to override it with one of our special bits of text. So, let's do that first, holding macro. This will be macro command, but we'll do it as normal first. Execute if data storage ID data string list open and close some square, open and close some curlies, has an in value that equals iron, well, hard code iron ingot, dot out. Then we will return function item override with storage ID temp item. Save that. Let's go into item override. We'll do one at a time. We're running returning, so if we do this one, we're not going to do anything else. Let's go into override. Let's just say override. Override. That's what we'll say. We'll say override. Oh, didn't want to change that. Done. Let's do a reload. So, you should say iron ingot should. Override. Command block should. Polish button. Oh, we're still going in with polish button, are we? They're all doing it. Execute if data ID string list in iron ingot. Oh, well, because iron ingot does there. It does exist. If we go and look at load, iron ingot does exist. Okay. So what we need to do is we need to change this to the actual ID of the item we're holding. So we'll do ID. Now you are using macro data, so we better give you your $sign. Let's go back. So I'm expecting, quick shoot back. I'm expecting oak sign, command block, and iron ingot should say override, and the others should do nothing. So nothing, iron ingot, override, oak sign, override, yes, polish button, nothing, command block, override. Great. Okay, so we've detected if we have a value. Hello, why have we come here? Who's that? Oh, she's gone. Bye. Okay, so we've detected if we've got a value in here, and we'll go off to that function if we do. Right. We'll come back to that one. Let's check if the item has a formatted name. So a formatted name would be like the emerald has. My item, and it's got bold and stuff like that. Let's check if we've got a formatted name. And we're going to do that with execute if data storage ID temp item dot name dot text. Then we will return a function, and we'll return item formatted with storage ID temp item. So as you see, we're doing the same thing. Why does this work? So let's go and have a look at our item. In fact, first of all, in item formatted, let's just say formatted. Save. Let's go back. Let's have a reload. So we do anvil, nothing. Yeah. If we do formatted, we now get formatted. Okay, so let's look at the difference. Let's look at the anvil. Let's do a data get from an entity, myself, selected item. We can see in there, nowhere do we have item name dot text. We don't have an item name dot text in there. But if we look at the emerald, we can see we do have an item name, and inside item name there is a text. So it's picking up that, it's finding that and going, oh, you must be formatted then. Now let's check if the item has been renamed on an anvil, like I've done to my anvil. In fact, actually we'll just copy this whole line, because nothing goes wrong when we do this. And we'll say item named macro. We'll still call it with the item data, but this time we are going to check for item dot name. That'll do. Let's go into named. Let's say named. Let's go back. Let's go here. Let's do a reload. Let's have a dance. Formatted. Yeah. Named. Yeah. Sandstone has nothing, so I should say nothing. Nothing. Item overruled. Cool. And lastly, well, we want to deal with the things that don't have an override. They don't have this item name here. They don't have this renamed bit. Well, they don't have a formatted name. They don't have renamed, in which case we just want to use their default name. So we'll run function item default macro with storage ID temp. Okay, and let's go in there and we'll just put, say, default. And let's go back. Let's do the reload. Now I can do sandstone and we get default, and I can do polish button and we get default. Great. So we are now detecting all the different types of way things can be named, and we're sorting and going off into the right function depending on how they're named. Well, let's start with our override since it's first in our list. Let's go. Let's get some of these closed down. Bye. Okay, holding macro override is our first one. Let's go in there. So convert the ID. So we need to go into our list in load and grab that ID. So let's data modify storage ID temp item dot new name set from storage ID data from the string list. Open and close some squares, open and close some curlies. In here we'll put in the in. The in we'll hard code as an iron ingot for now, and we'll say dot out. Ooh, come outside the brackets, dot out. Okay, and then we did two different types of message, because remember one said what the item actually was, and the other message in the hover event said what we had renamed it. So let's do those. Oh, these are the confusing bits. So we'll do tell raw, add s, open and close some square. We'll have some text. After the text, I will also have some storage, and we'll have the hover event in the storage. Okay, so this one will be just some text. And we'll say item space. Here we will have some storage, so we say storage where it is, MBT what it is, and we're going to have a hover event. And for the hover event, I'm passing the hover event to this, so we're going to have to turn this into a macro. Let's do $ open close hover event, in which case you are now a macro we want this to be storage. The storage is going to be ID temp, and it's going to be item new name, I suppose. Let's copy that and put that there. This one says NBT. Okay, let's try that. Let's do a reload. So this should be working for anything with an override. So iron ingot should work. The finger of an iron golem. Nice. Now if we pointed it, it says iron ingot. Really, it's an iron ingot. I mean, we can see that with advanced tooltips, but it's nicer to play with them off, to be honest. So that works. And we can obviously do the same. If one of them's working, they should all work. Ah, but it said the finger of an iron golem. We know what we've done. We've hard-coded the ID again. So let's change that so we're using the ID that's being passed. Put a $sign on the beginning of U. Press save. Go back. Do our reload. Ah, no, good. Good for labelling chests. Well, might be good. What is it? Ah, it's an oak sign. Okay, let's do the next one. Let's do it so it says the name we put in. How do we do this? I should have made better notes. Tell raw at S. Open and close some of them. We're going to start with some text again, so let's do text. And then we're going to have another one, which will be storage. And inside that will be a hover event, and the hover event will be showing the storage as well. Okay, let's just do this. Let's just do the text first and get that out of the way. Oh, look, there's a big S. Let's get rid of that. Text. Item. And we'll get that from, so do the same thing. Storage, where's the storage? MBT, where's the MBT? Let's put that in as well. In fact, it's right here, so why don't we copy that and put that in there. Okay, cool. So that should work. And now I want to add in here the hover event. So let's put in a hover event. This time we're going to create our own. So let's do that. Hover event open. Hover event. You could tell me a message. You need an action, I think, don't you? Yeah, missing key action. So let's give it an action. And the action is going to be to show text. Yeah. And then we'll need a value because that's going to be the text we're going to show. So we could say value and put that. And I could just say, hey there. Okay, let's try that. So we should get two messages. Reload. Good for labelling chests. Good for labelling chests. The first one says oak sign. That's what we want. The second one says, hey there. Nice. I'm being seduced by an oak sign. Right, but we obviously don't want hey there. We want to get this storage in there. So I reckon what we can do is we can copy that. And instead of saying hey there, we will open and close some square. And inside there, open and close some curly. And inside there, put in our stuff. Now, did you add an extra square that I didn't want you to add? You did. Naughty. Okay, so now the value will be what's in the storage. Well, that's how my brain works. Let's find out if that's how actual Minecraft works. I can't click the button. I've gone mad. Oak sign, good for labelling chests. Cool. Okay, so there's one way we play around with it. Let's do the formatted one. It's going to be easy. We're going to have one command for this one. But we're going to be using the % sign. Right? I know it makes sense, but I still never get my head around it. So next on the list is formatted. Let's do that one. Say formatted? No. We are going to have some data. Well, it's type tell raw because we know we're going to have that. Type tell raw at S. We're going to have to open that, and we are going to translate open item. Okay, and after item we will have %sign S. Right, it's not happy at the moment because I tell you, if we remove that, then it'll be happy. That makes it easier. In fact, that's why I usually like to hard code it first, because you get the sort of the error checking then. So translate item, but what is %S? So we have to say with. with, which will be required to be open some squares. I think I need to open some more squares, and in there I'm going to have one thing and another thing. The first one is going to be, let me think, text, which we'll just leave blank because we're doing this for the hover event. So we'll do hover event, and we'll use the hover event. Now we are using macro, we can put that on. And this last one here, I think, is actually going to be the name that we're passing. So this is going to be name item at S. Okay, let's have a little look. So this should only affect the formatted one. So this default, that's what we expected. This one, good, that's what we expected. Renamed, just says named, that's what we expected. This one, ahaha, my item. And what happens if we do a hover event? Hey, my item. Cool. Okay. Let's go to, what was next in the list? Item name. So if it's got a name, so this would be our anvil in this case. I think I will go back to formatted. I will take that, nom nom, and I will go back to named, and I will paste it in there. We're just going to have to make a little bit of a change though. This is why we had to split them up into their functions, because they're all a little bit different. So the hover event for this one, this one's quite a bit different. We don't want this name, which means we don't need two sets of square brackets because we've only got one entry. That looks all right. Text here is not going to be empty. This is where we'll put the name. Tell raw, translate. You'll say item space. Then you'll try and put in %s. %s will be this thing, which could consist of the name we passed and the hover event we passed. Okay, let's check it out. Let's check it out. Reload. So this should be the anvil because we renamed the anvil. So sandstone, default. Let's do the anvil. Anvil of doom. Let's try the hover event. Anvil of doom. Okay. So we've only got all the other items to do. Now, this is where it's a little bit tricky because we're going to use the translation table, but some of the things you can hold are items, but some of the things you can hold are blocks. GalSergey set this for me as a homework, and I could not come up with the answer until he said we can use fallback. So let's go to default, and I thought, oh, this is so wonderfully elegant. So what we're going to do, we'll do it hard-coded first. We will tell raw at S, open and close, translate. Let's get our item colon and our %s sign in there. Okay. With open and close some square. Right. Now inside here, we are going to have another translate. So we'll put that in there. And we want a fallback. So we'll have a... let's write them in as we go. So we'll have a translate. A translate. A translate. Infernal, you're an idiot. Translate. Okay, you're happy now. That will require a fallback. Our fallback is just going to be another % sign. And we are going to do that with another with, open and close some squares. And in there, we will have another translate. Okay. So we haven't filled it in yet. So the idea being, we will put item. Then it'll say, oh, I have to use %s, and it'll come to translate, and it'll look for this translation string. And if it can't find it, so what we're going to look for first is we're going to look for the block. So let's say we're holding a stick. Now the stick's translation name would be item.minecraft.stick. So we're going to look for block.minecraft.stick. So let's put that in. We'll look for block.minecraft. What have I got? Sandstone, didn't I? Sandstone. So we'll look for that. Sandstone. And that will find it, actually, because sandstone is a block. And we won't have to go any further. But what if we were searching for stick? Well, it's not going to find block.minecraft.stick because it doesn't exist. So it's going to go, oh, right, I use the fallback, which is with translate, and we will just change this to item.minecraft.stick. So, let's have a look and see if it's got a block name. If it doesn't have a block name, let's try and see if it's got an item name. If it hasn't got an item name, then there's something pretty wrong, because everything's got a name in the translation table. That should work, but we don't have our hover event yet, so that's going to go at the end here. So, and we will just use the one that we're passing. So we'll use hover event. Open and close, $signs, open and close, hover event. You're not happy because, let's leave that off because that is using past data. So let's leave that off so we can leave it hard-coded. Why are you unhappy? What did I remove there? Okay, there we go. Let's leave that off so we can leave it hard-coded. Let's go and have a little look. So we're doing stick. Reload. So if I click with sandstone, item, stick. Okay, no hover event. So that's cool. It's not, so it's missing this one. It's not finding this one, and it's going off to item. Great. Now what we need to do is let's change this so it's actually using our past data. So we'll change this from stick to ID. And we will change this from stick to ID. You are using data this past, so you shall have a $sign. And we'll save that. We'll go back. We'll do a reload. So if I click with sandstone, we've broken it. Wonderful. Let's have a look to see if we can see what on earth I did. Block Minecraft.id fallback. Well, how did I break that? I hope you can't see the answer and you're laughing at me. Well, actually, I hope you can see the answer. Translate block my... Let's just have a little look. Say ID. What are you being passed in that ID there? Let me know. Nothing. Oh, let's go back to where we're calling default macro. So we're calling item default. Well, we are calling it with the temp. Look what we did. We called it with ID temp. We didn't call it with ID temp item. Bing. And it's if by magic. I hope so. We now have sandstone. So the ID is working. Right, let's get rid of our little test. Let's get you uncommented. There we go. So it should come and look for block Minecraft sandstone. It will find it. It won't use the fallback. If we use an item instead, it won't find the block and it will use the fallback. So let's reload. Let's get ourselves an item. In fact, we've got one. The polished blackstone button. Oh, is that a block? Ooh, I don't know. Let's get one that we know is definitely an item. Snowball's got to be an item, hasn't it? Sandstone? Yes. Polished blackstone button? Yes. Snowball? Yes. We have no hover event. Let's put the hover event in. So the hover event would come after we close those yellow brackets there. So it should be here. Hover event. And we're going to pass the hover event. Save that. Go back. Reload. Click on you. You say snowball. Point at you. You say snowball. Sandstone. Sandstone. We know it's going to work for this one. It worked for the others. Cool. So we have our different items. We have a default block. Default block. We have a default item. We have a renamed item. We have an item which is formatted. And we have an item where we've specified something we want to say instead. We've specified our own thing. There we go. The finger of an iron golem. If you were using a resource pack, I wonder you could probably do this a bit better. We may be able to have like an extra fallback in here. Maybe this is just me. We're basically finished. We're done. It all works. This is just me bimbling. I should say thank you to GalSergey for this. It's very nice. Instead of iterating and running through recursive functions, we've just gone to sort of this rather elegant little command here. But I wonder if you could have multiple fallbacks. So maybe we could look. First, we look at block.mydatapack.item name. And if we can't find that, then we look at item.mydatapack name. And if we can't find that, then we look at block.minecraft name and block item Minecraft. So maybe you could do multiple fallbacks. I wonder if that's possible. I mean, I don't see why not. Fallback with here, fallback, and then in here we have another in here we have another fallback, and then in that one we have another fallback. Anyway, I thought this was a really, really nice solution, and I left it in this one just in case you wanted some things that you could override. So this way, you define the names you want, just in case you want something weird and different, like the finger of an iron golem. And then everything else is sorted. We did have to obviously take into account some names may be formatted. We had to take into account that some things might be named on an anvil. And if they're not, then we go for the default. Anyway, there we go. What's the name of this? Getting item name using translation. Stop looking at my butt. There we go. Okay, thanks to GalSergey again, and Tracheus for the idea. I thought this was a pretty cool one. It turned out to be a lot longer than I thought it was. Sorry about that. But we got through it. Anyway, have a great day. I'll see you all soon. Take care. Bye-bye.